There are times in the exploration of deep space when the universe behaves exactly the way our equations say it should. When everything unfolds neatly, obeying the laws we've written into textbooks and trusted for decades. And then there are the rare, quiet moments. Moments that don't merely challenge physics, but seem to twist it, stretch it, and whisper back in ways that feel almost deliberate. In Voyager 1, the most distant human-made object ever created has just lived through one of those moments. For nearly 50 years, Voyager has drifted farther from Earth, slipping past the sun's magnetic breath, beyond the protective shell of the Heliosphere, into a realm so cold, so hostile, and so saturated with radiation that no machine was ever expected to survive there. Yet somehow, against all odds, Voyager keeps talking. But this time, something answered. It wasn't static. It wasn't random noise. It wasn't leftover plasma interference or solar debris bleeding through space. What came back was organized, structured, patterned, a signal that behaved as though it recognized Voyager's presence, or worse, was studying it. If the universe were an endless ocean, Voyager would be nothing more than a message in a bottle drifting through the dark. And what just happened feels like something found that bottle, opened it, and began writing back. Tonight, we follow the story of how a 45-year-old spacecraft, powered by fading plutonium and ancient processors, encountered something that behaves like an advanced object, something far outside our solar system, far beyond the limits of our physics, and far beyond anything NASA ever prepared for. And once you trace every step of Voyager's journey, from Jupiter's storms to Saturn's rings, Uranus's tilt, Neptune's violent winds, and finally the interstellar void, you'll understand why this signal isn't merely strange. It's terrifying. Voyager 1 was never meant to survive this long. When it launched in 1977, its goal was simple. Visit Jupiter, visit Saturn, send data and images home, and then slowly fade away as its systems shut down. It was designed to pass through history, not outlast it. But things unfolded differently. With just a 3.7-meter dish, 16 hydrazine thrusters, and plutonium generators that lose power year after year, Voyager should have died decades ago. Instead, it now sits more than 155 astronomical units from the sun, still alive, still transmitting, still listening. Most of its 11 instruments have gone dark. They were built for short planetary flybys, not an endless journey into the abyss. Yet the few that remain active continue rewriting science. There's no modern software on board, no artificial intelligence, no advanced stabilization. Its memory is smaller than a single photo on your phone, and yet its endurance, its precision, and its improbable survival through one dangerous region after another have turned it into the most unlikely ambassador humanity has ever sent. Now, this aging probe isn't just a machine. It's our only set of eyes in a region we were never supposed to reach. And that's exactly why this new signal is so unsettling. Everything Voyager has encountered so far prepared us for surprises, but nothing prepared anyone for this. Its first brush with the unknown came at Jupiter, long before interstellar space, before plasma waves or magnetic boundaries. Jupiter shocked scientists with storms larger than entire planets, lightning 10 times stronger than Earth's, volcanic eruptions on Io blasting material hundreds of kilometers high, and radiation belts so intense they nearly overwhelmed Voyager systems. Jupiter didn't show us stability. It showed chaos and power, and buried inside that chaos were faint pulses, subtle signals that didn't align with the planet's rotation or its magnetic fluctuations. At the time, they were dismissed as noise or modeling errors. But today, engineers are revisiting those recordings, because maybe the first encounter with something unknown didn't happen beyond the solar system. Maybe it happened right there at Jupiter. Saturn marked Voyager's final planetary goodbye. Its rings revealed intricate wave patterns and gravitational resonances. Titan's thick haze concealed a landscape we wouldn't see clearly for decades. But more importantly, Saturn altered Voyager's path forever. After that flyby, it wasn't exploring planets anymore. It was exiled into the dark. The sun dimmed. Communication delays stretched. Temperatures fell. The solar wind weakened. Voyager left behind the predictable rhythm of the planets and entered something entirely different, a region where models failed and behavior grew chaotic. Saturn wasn't just a milestone. It was the last checkpoint before the unknown. Meanwhile, Voyager 2 ventured farther, encountering Uranus and Neptune, worlds that behaved like cosmic riddles. Uranus lay tipped on its side. Neptune unleashed supersonic winds. Triton erupted nitrogen geysers. Scientists even suspect diamonds raining deep beneath the ice giant surfaces. The deeper we looked, the clearer it became. The universe thrives on extremes. And if such bizarre phenomena exist inside the sun's influence, what might exist beyond it? Eventually, Voyager reached the Heliosphere's edge, the giant bubble carved by the solar wind. Scientists once imagined it smooth and predictable. Instead, it proved turbulent and unstable, shifting with solar cycles like a beating heart. Particles thinned, solar influence faded, and then came the boundary. The Heliosphere, not calm, not gentle, but violent, a collision zone where solar particles slammed into interstellar material like crashing oceans. Plasma waves surged. Magnetic fields twisted. Energies oscillated unpredictably. It wasn't a border. It was a threshold. And when Voyager crossed it, its instruments detected something unexpected. Rhythmic, repeating oscillations. Patterns. At first, NASA assumed they were natural. Now, those assumptions are being questioned. Interstellar space wasn't empty or silent. It was structured, energetic, strangely organized. Plasma waves formed harmonics. Magnetic fields shifted rhythmically. Cosmic rays arrived in complex patterns. It almost felt alive. Voyager's old plasma wave instrument became crucial. By converting frequencies into sound, scientists could hear space. But hidden within those recordings were harmonics far too regular to be random. Repeating structures, sudden shifts, responses, not just noise. And then came the low-frequency hum, a background resonance of the galaxy itself. It should have been steady. Instead, it fluctuated, rising and falling as if something massive were moving through the medium. Soon after, Voyager's thrusters began acting strangely, correcting themselves with uncanny precision. Magnetic distortions appeared, smooth, artificial-looking fields that lasted weeks, like passing through the wake of something enormous. Then everything changed. NASA detected a signal, not from Earth, not for Voyager, but for Voyager's direction. Structured, layered, repeating, arriving in sync with Voyager's transmissions, as if something had learned its rhythm. Diagnostics ruled out interference. Tests failed to reproduce it. The signal returned only during Voyager's normal communication cycle, never during experiments. Almost as if something was choosing when to answer. Decoded fragments revealed organized gaps and packet-like structures, eerily similar to data headers. This wasn't chaos. It was deliberate. Then Doppler analysis showed movement, smooth, coordinated repositioning. Not drifting, not tumbling, maneuvering, like a craft. And finally, the conclusion no one wanted. Voyager hadn't encountered plasma or radiation. It had encountered an object, something advanced, something emitting structured signals, something responding intentionally, something that moved with purpose. No heat signature, no propulsion trail, no known physics, just presence, just response, just intelligence. Think about that. A fragile probe from the 1970s, carrying a golden record and powered by a fading plutonium heart, may have just become humanity's first ambassador in a conversation we never planned for. Whatever is out there understands timing, understands patterns, understands Voyager. It speaks only when it chooses, moves only when it wants, observes, responds, interacts. This isn't random. This isn't natural. This is contact. And if this story unsettled you even half as much as it did NASA's engineers, stay with us, because every new update could redefine our place in the cosmos. Like the video, so others understand what just happened out there. And tell me in the comments, Is this object a relic, a sentinel, or the first sign of civilization we've only just begun to meet? But to understand why this moment is so unsettling, you have to remember something most people forget. Voyager isn't fast. It isn't agile. It isn't powerful. It's fragile. Every command we send takes nearly a full day to arrive. Every reply takes another day to return. By the time engineers hear Voyager's voice, what they're listening to is already history. Signals that left the spacecraft almost 24 hours earlier. In deep space, there's no real-time control. No joystick. No quick correction. Voyager is alone. Completely alone. Which means whatever answered it wasn't reacting to us. It was reacting to Voyager itself. And that detail changes everything. Because Earth wasn't part of the exchange. There was no live conversation between NASA and the unknown source. No back-and-forth instructions. No synchronized experiment. Just Voyager, drifting silently through interstellar darkness, sending its steady, heartbeat-like transmissions into space. And something out there noticed that rhythm. Imagine that for a moment. For decades, this tiny machine has been broadcasting the same predictable pattern. A carrier signal, telemetry, status updates, a mechanical pulse repeating over and over like a lighthouse in a cosmic ocean. And something learned that pattern, studied it, waited for it, then responded. Not randomly, not once, but repeatedly. That's not coincidence. That's recognition. Engineers began combing through decades of archived data, reanalyzing everything Voyager ever recorded. Old magnetic spikes, minor plasma irregularities, faint oscillations once dismissed as interference, tiny anomalies that seemed meaningless at the time. Suddenly, those errors didn't look like errors anymore. They looked like footprints, like Voyager hadn't just stumbled onto something new, but had been passing near it for years, possibly decades. Think about how terrifying that idea is. Something could have been out there the entire time, moving quietly through interstellar space, undetected, only revealing itself when Voyager finally drifted close enough to be noticed. Close enough to be interesting. Close enough to study. Because from a perspective of something advanced, Voyager wouldn't look like a spacecraft. It would look like something stranger. A tiny object radiating heat, emitting structured radio waves, maintaining orientation, correcting its trajectory, artificial, different from everything else in the void. In a region filled with rocks, dust, plasma, and radiation, Voyager would stand out like a firefly in the dark. And if we can spot artificial satellites around Earth, why couldn't something else spot Voyager? That possibility forced NASA to confront an uncomfortable truth. For the first time in history, humanity isn't just observing the cosmos. The cosmos might be observing us back. Because this wasn't just a signal. It wasn't just movement. It wasn't just magnetic distortion. It was behavior. And behavior implies intention. Natural phenomena don't wait for transmission windows. They don't synchronize with schedules. They don't produce nested, repeating structures that resemble data packets. They don't reposition smoothly around targets. But technology does. Intelligence does. Design does. And the more scientists tried to force a natural explanation, the more the data resisted. Every model failed. Every simulation broke down. Nothing in astrophysics behaves this cleanly. Nothing in plasma physics produces responses this precise. Nothing random looks this organized. It was like trying to explain a lighthouse using lightning. The math just wouldn't cooperate. So a quiet shift happened inside mission control. Not public, not announced, but undeniable. The language changed. Anomaly became object. Noise became signal. Disturbance became interaction. Careful words. Measured words. But words that meant one thing. Something is out there. And Voyager found it first. Or maybe it found Voyager. And that might be the most chilling part of all. Because Voyager wasn't built to represent humanity. Not really. It was built to take pictures of planets. To measure radiation. To sample magnetic fields. Yet by accident, it became something else entirely. An introduction. A calling card. A drifting artifact that says, without meaning to, we exist. The golden record strapped to its side suddenly feels symbolic in a way nobody expected. Music, languages, sounds of Earth. A message meant for some distant future discoverer. For decades, it felt poetic. Now it feels prophetic. Because maybe Voyager didn't just carry a message in a bottle. Maybe the bottle has finally been picked up. And maybe, somewhere out there in the freezing dark between the stars, something is turning it over in its hands, trying to understand who sent it. If that's true, then history just changed. Not with a loud announcement, not with flashing lights, but with a faint, structured whisper buried inside deep space static. A whisper that says, "You're not alone, and something heard you." I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.